Hi, I'm David Spungen, founder and principal consultant at the Leader Growth Group. Welcome to today's video on expanding your influence as a leader by applying reappraisal strategies as a form of self-management. Now, if you'll recall from my previous video, I spoke about the choice gap. Let's revisit that concept momentarily. Remember that humans are sense-making machines who are constantly interpreting the world around them. In the process of applying meaning to events, we make up a story and we experience emotions. This informs our actions, which produce the results that we experience. Now, if you assess anything as being undesirable in terms of your status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, or fairness, SCAR for short, you are likely to experience negative emotions like fear and anger and have what's called an amygdala hijack. Again, this is your body's natural stress response, and this is when you'll either default to fighting, fleeing, or freezing in order to deal with the threat that's in front of you. Now, leaders have to move beyond this reactivity, and I offered in our last video that our ability to do so is largely a function of what I call your choice gap. The more space between your emotions and your actions, the more choice you have as a leader. And so now here comes the hard part. It's one thing to conceptually understand our own reactivity and how this diminishes our influence as a leader, and it's another thing to be able to act in these moments with clarity and intentionality. And so let's look at a technique that I like to offer leaders for greater self-management. Dr. James Gross of Stanford University recommends a technique called reappraisals for emotional regulation. These are simple questions that act as micro-interventions to help you to shift perspective. Now, there are many reappraisal strategies, but here are my 5 favorites. The first 2 are noting the best case and worst case scenario. Imagine for a moment that you're triggered by a client or a coworker. Before you pick up the phone or shoot off that email, what if you were able to notice your anger or your disappointment? You know that you're likely not going to be your best, and so you try instead to visualize success or to de-escalate the situation by asking, hey, what's the worst that could happen right now? Often when we take these different angles, we see more choices that are available to us and a more influential approach. Some people prefer to use the long run reappraisal, and reminding oneself that legacy is always more important than any single moment. This helps people to shift for the better. Another reappraisal strategy is called normalizing, and this is giving yourself permission to be upset, scared, or disappointed. Once we realize that it's quite normal, given the situation that we're facing, to be having these emotions, we seem to have more space for better options. Finally, the reappraisal strategy that works for many leaders and seems to resonate the most is called cognitive empathy. And this is simply just getting out of your head and into your heart. By assessing the emotions of others, we can begin to lessen our own reactivity and take a more influential approach. Now, it's important to note that applying any of these reappraisal strategies when experiencing a negative emotion is very difficult work. It takes a whole lot of practice. And so my offer to you is that you don't try to memorize all 5 of these strategies, and instead just pick one and practice it consistently until you're able to apply it in even your most triggered moments. That's it for today. If you'd like to learn more, please subscribe to this YouTube channel or connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter. I'll see you next time.